Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have two monster-sized topics because guess what? The Xbox news doesn't seem to stop. We're going to be talking Gears of War. Lots of new information comes the way, of course, of Jez Corden of Windows Central. And we also had the Todd Howard interview with Maddie Plays. Lots of really big news out of that. And it appears, based on the wordage, if you will, that PlayStation 5 is not getting Starfield anytime soon. We will break down what Todd Howard said. And the way he said it basically kind of summed it up for me. As we wait for Crispy Bomb, Well, Crispy, if you're in the chat, brother, welcome as always. As we wait for Fuzzy Belvedere to get here, we are here with Gamsley. What's up, dude? How you feeling?
I'm feeling so good right now. I'm having a lot of fun. Xbox is giving us a lot of news to talk about. Isn't that crazy for third place? But yeah,
Indeed.
it's so nuts. They have a lot of good stuff. I mean, the industry right now is on fire, right? For a quote unquote slow year, apparently. It's one hell of a leakage of games going on. So I'm ready to talk games. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, that makes two of us. And like I said, we are waiting Fuzzy Belvedere to pop in here. I don't know if he's running behind or what, but we're gonna have a great show one way or the other. So, Gamza, let's rip the Band-Aid right off. So I have the story pulled up here. This was written by Jez Corden of Windows Central. Obviously, you know Jez from the Xbox 2 podcast, with, of course, none other than the man with the million. That it'd be Randall Thor 19. And he wrote this story 2 days ago. Obviously, today is Monday. This posted on Saturday. He's recovering from COVID. A lot of people that were there got sick. Thankfully, I was able to escape any contamination. I think has a lot to do with Mrs. Boom always looking down and around the corner because I was taking echinacea, vitamin C, and zinc a week before the trip. And then while I was there, Gamsley, I was scarfing down 3 airbornes a day. And well, I'm here to tell the tale. So
Where are
thankfully,
you, patient zero? It's all your fault.
no,
It's
Patient Zero is
asymptomatic.
we know who Patient Zero was. That was John from Xbox Era.
Oh,
Sorry, John, had to throw
that
you under the bus
dirty,
there,
dirty
brother.
man. Yeah.
But it was
Oh
great to
man,
meet
it's
him, his
so
wife,
funny.
and everyone there. It just
It's
was one of
so
those.
it's so funny because everybody's like, "Yeah, we had so much fun. It's amazing," giving me all FOMO and stuff, and now you're all COVID ridden, suckers.
The kids
But
of the
yeah,
cross. Stay away, stay
yeah.
away. So, Gamsley, here's the thing. The story is pulled up in front of me. Very simply, it says, "Will Gears of War E-Day have multiplayer? What about Gears 6? The Coalition gives us some hints as to the future of the franchise." And Jez Corden writes, and I'm reading verbatim, folks, "We caught up with the Coalition to learn all about Gears of War E-Day in this new interview." And it says, "I have returned from the Xbox Game Showcase 2024 in LA with a mountain of juicy new gaming information. Last week, Microsoft had its best pitch for the Xbox platform ever, thanks to a bumper Xbox Game Showcase 2024. With amazing trailer after amazing trailer, the showcase gave us a glimpse at Xbox's incredible upcoming Xbox games roadmap with titles like Perfect Dark, Fable, South of Midnight, Avowed, and many, many more. But this headline came to one of Xbox's most iconic, long-standing franchises. And the Coalition emerged from its slumber with Gears of War E-Day, aiming to tell the story of the Locust Horde from its very inception, Emergence Day, which is a notorious event in the Gears of War history. With Gears 1 itself taking place 14 years hence, the game is shrouded in mystery and intrigue right now, leading with an absolutely spectacular Unreal Engine 5 trailer showcasing the game's gritty tone. Now, to cut to the chase, what was learned during this interview? And we're going to get right into it, Gamsley. It takes place 14 years before Gears of War 1. There will be new weapons and locust types. There will, in fact, be multiplayer modes. Now, obviously, I think that is kind of should be second nature. We kind of should have guessed that, but there was some talk into if there was going to be multiplayer. The Coalition has put the kibosh on there not being any in the game. It is going to be your atypical Gears of War release. It's going to have multiplayer. It's going to have single player, and I'm
Can
sure.
I butt in? Who the hell
Yeah,
was saying
sure.
that there wasn't multiplayer?
I mean, according to this, there is going to be multiplayer.
No. What I mean is, who said there wasn't going to be multiplayer?
There was some talk because when you looked at after the trailer, when it went up, multiplayer had been removed from from what was going to be available in the game. But I think that was just because you were seeing the single player. There was some talk as to there not being multiplayer, which seems silly, to be honest with you. I just think it was the trolls doing what, well, trolls know and love, how to do. But it also says it's returning to its Gears roots, which for a lot of people means that it's going to be some claustrophobic, alleyways and some very linear ways of telling the story. That is what we saw in Gears 1, 2, and 3. We did not see that in Gears 4 and 5. A lot of people did not like that, the way, the direction that the Coalition was taking the franchise. I happen to not mind. I actually quite enjoyed the open world. And, well, it's going back to what people know and love about the franchise. Now, it says here, which interestingly enough, General Ram, ? No comments, smirks. And of course, what I think is really cool here, Gamsley, is, when you play some of the later Gears, you find a retro lance and you're like, right? I'd rather have the chainsaw mod. But this time around, because this is a prequel, well, you're going to be rocking with the Lancer that only has the knife or the bayonet at the end of it. According to this story, we're going to not only learn the chainsaw guns are going to return, but we're going to get to see the story behind it on how it's made. Sounds freaking dope to me. Let's get your hot take on this new information, obviously coming from, of course, Windows Central.
Yeah, no, everything about this era of Gears of War is just so amazing, right? It's kind of like the intrigue in Star Wars, and that little snippet that we're missing, that they're starting to fill out between the Clone Wars and the original trilogy and all that stuff. It's like it's such a sweet spot. So intriguing. They just finished one war, and all of a sudden this major enemy just pops out of nowhere and scares the shit out of people. I'm really interested in the story. The Lancer thing is probably the thing I'm least interested in. I mean, I don't. I mean, it's going to be a natural thing. He looked at the little knife at the end of the gun, and he was like, "Man, humanity used this like 500 years ago. Why don't we have a chainsaw on it?" And he's going to make a chainsaw gun. That's what's going to happen. But yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. It's incredible. I really am looking forward for the like psychology and how our guys get from what they were then to what they are at Gears 1, because obviously so much trauma happened. Marcus gets obviously much better at killing things. He gets emotionless. It seems like like even during that fight, he has a lot of emotion showing, right? He's like completely different in my eyes. So I want to see his transformation into what we know him as in Gears of War 1 through 3, and to see that bond form. So I'm super ready for this game. And the multiplayer stuff, look, I don't know where this is coming from. Like, I mean, obviously they're not Naughty Dog, they're not gonna rip out features from their games. It's always been a thing. I'm pretty sure they're gonna try to stick to having multiplayer in it for as long as the franchise lives and survives. just like Halo, the thing about Halo is that it has a great, competent solo experience and a magnificent multiplayer experience. That's kind of in Gears nature as well. It has some sort of experience after the campaign ends. So we're gonna see that forever, hopefully. So I don't know who's shooting mud at this to get engagement, but stop it, okay? Stop. Can we just stop going on Steam pages and lurking in the background and like freaking, I don't know, data hunting? It's like, come on, guys, we're consumers. Can we just be happy it's Gears E-Day? Can we do that?
Well, I'm
Like,
happy.
why are we?
You're
Yeah.
happy. Fuzzy
Why,
Belvedere
why,
is happy,
why
but
are we talking about?
apparently a lot of
Why
PlayStation
is there?
gamers are not.
Oh my God!
Such
Aren't
is
you
life.
getting it too? Shut up. Like, aren't you getting? You're supposed to be getting it, right? Be quiet, you losers. Anyways, point is, we're getting a hell of a game, and we're getting it in Game Pass day one, baby. And it looks fantastic, and I can't wait to see more. And oh my God, Fuzzy, welcome, you beautiful bald head, you lovely person. How are you feeling about it, man? Let's go. Let's talk about that stuff. Are you excited for Gears?
Well,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
excited for Gears, but like the nonsense, like you were saying, as far as people making up stuff about not having a multiplayer, like I don't think there's ever been a question about Xbox not having a multiplayer, even for their titles that have always had multiplayer and it not coming at the same time. Like if I remember right, even with Halo, I think the Halo multiplayer was actually completed before the actual campaign, and we got to do the beta test for that prior. So the only thing I could see where there may be some small validity to it would be that the multiplayer is as a separate app on your Xbox. So that way, when you go to log in, it's a totally separate thing, which even my cat's like, why are these guys making up stuff in the background? But yeah, for the most part, it's like, unless it's like a separate app, I can't imagine it being something not included. Like much like you said, it's not like Naughty Dog with Factions not making its appearance, after the remaster and things like that. But yeah, for the most part, it should be there without question. I can't imagine a coalition world where they don't have it at launch for the game, or as part of that E-Day experience. So more FUD. I guess they have to find something to grasp straws at, because there wasn't any announcement, like they said, of Halo coming to PS5 or even Gears coming to PS5. Like they have to grab at something. They know they're getting Call of Duty, but that's about as far as it goes right now. So
Fuzzy, I more information here. Now, obviously, there's still Kate's story that needs to continue at some point. I don't know when we're going to get a Gear 6. I am, for one, very happy to know that we are going back in reverse. Now, obviously, many people that are Gears fans, if you have read some of the books, E-Day, they've gone into it, right? We've heard stories of it. Obviously, the Gears 1 opens up with what actually transpired on E-Day and what it looks like and what it's depicted at, but we've never actually been involved in it in a game. And obviously, E-Day is an event where it's obviously huge Gears canon. We're now going to get a chance to see where they're going. Now, we know, obviously, through Gears 1, 2, and 3, what the end game is for some characters. I personally am excited to know how Baird and Coltrane, where do they come in? Obviously, there's going to be a bond here that's going to be forming with Dom and Marcus. Obviously, that is the brotherhood that we're looking for. I don't know how long the game is going to be. I would imagine it is going to be as potentially as long as any of the other Gears games. It's going to have a bunch of acts and chapters. Again, it's getting back to the roots of what made Gears what it is. Now, I do want to ask the gentleman here, and I'll reach out to the chat here. One of the things, Fuzzy Belvedere, and I'll bring it back to you in a second, Gamsley, horror. Horror has been at the roots of Gears of War since inception. And maybe not your traditional boogeyman hiding around the corner with a Michael Myers knife, but like, for instance, I remember a specific part in Gears 1 where you were going through the refinery. And I'll never forget going through the refinery for the first time with my brother Neo Mental, and it just being dark and gritty. And you're seeing things in the distance run across, and you know what they are. You know they're running across the pipes. That particular part of the game was just one of the I think one of the best parts in the game. And if we're going back to what made the locust scary, I think that they really did depict that in the trailer where Marcus was fighting for his life. He got lucky to be alive. That's what it looks like to me, where he was able to just knock the thing back enough to grab the retro lancer and blow its head off. Otherwise, he was dead. And obviously, we see what happened at the end where he nearly dies again. This to me seems like it's going to be dark. How do you feel about them returning to what made Gears of War, well, Gears of War?
Yeah, if they're going more with a horror approach, or like where it's, you know, you're basically surviving from, you know, incident to incident type of thing, I think at that point it will not only, you know, appeal to those that are you know, Gears fans, but it'll also appeal to a lot of people that have been asking for something along those lines, whether it be from Halo with the Flood or something to that effect, because there isn't that, you know, shooter genre type of game that has that element of horror, other than some of like the remakes, like when you look at like Dead Space, but it's not really a shooter because you're still based on survival, where you're not going to have, you know, limitless parts of, or limitless ammo and things like that. Not saying that you'll have that in like a Gears of War scenario, but I think having that blend of genres would actually be a appeal to a wider audience in comparison to maybe what it's done before. It'll open up more doors to newer people or to newer players to give that experience a try, because I'm all for stuff like that, for the fact that it's like you peek around the corner, and if it's like you're gonna have to fight for your life, and you may not have to worry about the ammo count as much, but yeah, it's gonna be a harder fight. Yeah, those are the types of games that are more appealing. It's almost like when you look at like what you playing Division 1 here with the gameplay in the background, like the survival mode was awesome
Oh,
because
my brother
you didn't have,
loved that.
yeah,
Yeah.
you didn't have all of your normal skills or abilities. You didn't have the gear that you would normally have. So it's like that same level or one level up enemy that you can normally, you know, outgun or outsmart type of thing. It might be a little bit tougher fight this go around, especially if there's two or three of them. So yeah, I would be all for something along those lines if they take it to that type of, you know, atmosphere or mood as far as the gameplay. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Now, Gamsley, I have a different question for you, because obviously we'll talk horror, but there are 4 people that are part of this crew. Now, I don't know. Obviously, a lot of people played Judgment, didn't like Judgment for what it was. That was by People Can Fly. I actually quite enjoyed it, to be honest with you. I know that it didn't play exactly like, you know, prior Gears, so that's why people had a distaste for it. But this is a sequel. I mean, this is a prequel. We are going to get the horror element back into it, but I'm wondering if we're going to get an opportunity to use each particular character before they become this brotherhood. Like, are we going to see Coltrane by himself, you know, and his story to get where they eventually go? Are we going to see Baird? Is he going to? Are we going to see his story? He's a bit of an asshole, that guy. I want to know why he's such an a-hole, right? Are we going to see Dom before he meets Marcus? I honestly think that there is so much story to be told here, and I absolutely love the fact that this is actually happening, confirmed. If you just look at the talk of the gaming community, as big as some of the other announcements were, this stands the tallest. Let's get your hot take on the horror returning, and more importantly about the brotherhood that we're going to actually get a chance to see happen before our eyes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we saw one of those stories unfold in one of the Gears games. I don't know what game it was. I forgot. I'm sorry, chat, but pretty sure we saw something like that happen before. But I love that idea of like bouncing around certain character arcs, but it'll be interesting to see what they choose. Stick with Marcus, stick with the thing that works, stick with the guy that we love, and then introduce characters along the way. I think Dom and Marcus have a connection far beyond this point, and I think that they will start together. I think they stay together. He's your man. But as for the others, meeting the others, I think they just stick with Marcus throughout this whole game, and give us those stories later on, but or during the campaign, because we got 14 years of things to be answered. We have a lot of intrigue, a lot of things that can happen along the way. So I just want them to focus on Marcus and that through line story. I don't quite me personally, I don't like when they actually give me different things to play. I don't like it. It is an
That's fair.
interesting it is an interesting story device to like hop between characters and give us some story and run a mission with them, but it's a very hard thing to do, and we know by other games trying to do it that sometimes it doesn't land as you want it to. So if I was Coalition, I would stick to Marcus and just give us something powerful with him, and that's it. Show me Dom and Marcus and show me the world going to hell, and I think that's enough. We don't need to bounce around 16 characters.
No,
but that's my opinion.
It's a great one. But I want to back in that with another question then. See, what you're saying makes a whole lot of sense. You want to know young Marcus, maybe the intricacies, if you will, with his pops, right? You want to know maybe what's going on behind the scenes there. So here's the question, gentlemen in chat. Is this a new Gears of War trilogy? It's 14 years before we meet Marcus and the gang in Gears of War 1. Does this actually have enough story to be its own new trilogy before finishing up Kate's story whenever?
Ooh. See, that's an interesting one. 14 years. 14 years. There's a lot of interesting ways you could kind of time skip and go through phases. Like you could split up things into chapters, just like some of the other competition does in their games. Chapter 1, and it's Marcus just meeting Dom, or maybe having a mission with Dom. Chapter 2, it's like 4 years later in another mission. Like they could do those title screens and then shift between time zones, the future and whatever. I think they do that instead of the trilogy, because we want to end that second trilogy, right? We want some answers to 6. I know that most of us pretend we don't care about it, but there was some really interesting stuff in the new trilogy that they need to wrap up, and I think they need to get there. So if they add this as a distraction, they'll never get there, right? We're going to wait freaking 16 years until we get the end of the 6. I don't think that's a smart move. I think they need to answer those questions. So I think this should be a very detailed, precise story with these two guys that we love. Meet up with the gang, end the game with where it starts in the first game. And that's what I want. But I could be totally wrong. When it comes to horror, the horror aspects, Boom, I really want that stuff. I'm a huge fan of The Flood. I'm the huge fan when Gears of War was Gears of War, very gritty and dark, less color. I love that stuff. I was a huge fan of their competition at the time, Resistance Fall of Man, I think. Like, that was also a great series and had a similar tone. It was very creepy and eerie, and Gears did that very well. Those two games are great. I need some horror in my Gears. I want that to come back. It's inherently scary at moments, so we're gonna get that element in there for sure.
All right, good point.
That's what I gotta say.
No, great point. Fuzz, let's bring you into the conversation about a new trilogy, because I feel that if we are returning to what made Gears of War 1, 2, and 3 as special a trilogy as it is, and let's make no mistake, it is probably, without trying to sound like a fanboy, one of the best trilogies in gaming. I think the only one that challenges that is probably Halo, and that's just a fact. Do you think that because 14 years is a long time? And I don't necessarily know, because Big Mad Mo, shout out to him in the chat, he said he wants a trilogy before they entertain 6. Now, the reason why they're not jumping back and entertaining 6 so quickly is because, well, 4 was not received well. 5 was received a little bit better, but not by much. People did not like the open world aspect of it. And now, obviously, it's been years since 5. 5 came out in 2019.
Yeah.
We're now moving into 2024, which we're here now. This is rumored to be releasing in 2025, and the 20th anniversary of Gears as a franchise is in 2026. A 14-year block in one game, I don't know if that's the route to go. I think there's enough story here, especially like people are talking about the Carmines. Doesn't anybody honestly really want to know how that started? Like, I know I do. Like, I don't want to have to read a book. I want to know who's the first Carmine and how big is this freaking family? Because it's pretty big. There's been a major Carmine that gets killed almost every Gears. I don't know if they should stop it or start it, but what do you think about a potential new trilogy versus, hey, we're just going to tell you the story of E-Day and keep it moving?
I like the idea of a new trilogy only because it gives them a lot more time to experiment before they touch 6 again, or before they continue on with 6. Like, let 6 be the crescendo and the end of the overall storyline, unless they do like spinoffs, much like the I forget, was it Hive Busters or something like that, and that becomes its own unique storyline later. But I think doing a new trilogy allows them to experiment, whether it's just doing more of a linear, not roadmap, but linear like gameplay, as opposed to the open world idea that they tried with 5. I think that's the better way to go, because you can touch on the heartstrings as far as the overall story. You can still experiment or play around with some of the mechanics, introduce possibly new weapons and things. Like if they're going into how the Nasher it became to be type of thing, I think there's a lot more wiggle room in between there, as far as other things that they may have tried in between, just having a regular bayonet to having the chainsaw type of deal. But I think having that new trilogy might be the thing that sparks the current fan base and attracts a new fan base before you kind of end the second trilogy with 6 kind of thing. So I think it's a good approach. Plus, if I'm not mistaken, I have a gut feeling that part of that partnership with People Can Fly that we've heard they're working on a game might be something that can be kind of either in between, or maybe they work on something dealing with like the characters from Hive Busters, and you have those alternate stories that kind of still happen within the same universe ultimately, but all roads will lead back to 6 in the end, which will be like the high of the high, as far as where the first trilogy already in the bag. Maybe we get a update or like a collection or a remake like we're hoping for as well. But having this prequel possibly be a trilogy as well, I think would be the better for now, and then do the more modern stuff or catch up with Kate and whatever is canon from your choices from that as a later event. Because by that point, the next gen console will be out. They'll probably have a lot more capability as far as for the AI that you'll be facing. And they could possibly spin it where maybe you didn't play, 5 and make whatever choice that you made. Maybe you can, rewind time or travel in time or something along those lines to kind of finish off 6 based on a new approach or something along those lines. Like, not saying when we wake up to it being a dream sequence or anything, but they would have a lot more leeway based on the feedback that they get from, the prequels, and maybe the collection, if that's still a thing, and go from there. But I think having this prequel as a trilogy is probably the way to go, because there's so much lore that was not really touched on through the first trilogy. So yeah,
Well,
this is the way to go.
here's the thing with that, and I like everything that you're putting down, right? But we have to remember sometimes saying less gives more flavor, and I just don't think that we need to convolute something so much. Like the reason why, I don't know, the original Star Wars series was so powerful is because how much they told us but didn't tell us. And when you start to answer too many questions, it gets muddy and there's more mistakes being made. You push away your audience. It's just let the head canon go a little bit. Let the books do their job. Give me a tight story. I don't need all 14 years. Give me what you want to say and then spin off later at a later date. Don't make me wait 15 years to end 6. We don't need that. We just need to be brought back in with Dom and Marcus. Give us a nice through line and then give us 6. Conclude there and then do whatever the hell you want with it after. But I think waiting too long is a mistake, and I think answering too much is a bigger mistake. But that's just my opinion.
I mean, listen,
and
dude,
that's
your
what I mean
opinion
by
is
the
valid.
chat.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
no,
chat.
no, no, no. Listen, you're
I-
you're entitled to your opinion, brother. And you know something, you
Wait,
you,
yeah,
you have
I'm
some
not-
great points.
Yeah, I'm not finished yet. Like chat, I understand the want for the trilogy, but again, just you want them to conclude as well. It's always better like that, and I'm sure Coalition wants to do the same thing. Don't 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 make them stay on this thing for like 50 years. But yeah, okay, I'm
Well,
done.
I mean, look, I mean, again, I will politely disagree. I like what you're putting down. I just disagree with it. I think that to do a one and done, to get back to Gears 1 and 2 and 3, we've done it. We know the story, we know how it ends. Gears 4 was what it was. A lot of people didn't like it because it was a new trilogy of heroes that a lot of people could not that did not enjoy using. JD is a fine character. Kate's a fine character. They had a group that was like, and I say this respectively, like Delta Squad, but they weren't them, and a lot of people didn't enjoy it. We get to 5 now. Granted, I really enjoyed 5, and I did like the open world aspect of it because you could go and find things that you could miss if you weren't looking. So a lot of people didn't like that. So here we go. We get E-Day. It's on the way. It's been confirmed. When you get a chance to see exactly how it's 14 years before Gears 1, that's a lot of story. I don't necessarily know. And again, this is just for me as someone that enjoys storytelling. If you could pack 14 years worth of story into a just one game. Now, maybe you don't do a trilogy, maybe you just do 2. And that tells the tale. But I think it would be again, for me, if we are going back to the beginning, if we're going back to exactly how and where it started, you're literally ending one war and an E-Day happens and holy shit, the world's coming to an end. I don't know if one game is enough. I mean, is it going to be a 60-hour experience? Probably not. Is it probably going to be about 18 hours? Probably, right? This is not an open world game. It's going to be linear. It's going to be claustrophobic. It is going to be, you're going to be taking your corners and watching. You're going to get the story of how the chainsaw gun came to be. I'm sure that Marcus's father has a lot to do with some of the advancements that the cogs make over this 14 years up until Gears. We're going to have to end it with him in chains because obviously Marcus abandons his post to try and go save his dad. Can all of that story be put into just one game? I personally hope not. I would love a trilogy because, like I said, look, they can get to Kate anytime they want. A lot of people walked away with a really bad taste in the way they were taking Gears, which is why I think they went back and said, you know something? Let's hit the reset button. Let's go back to what made Gears Gears, and let's tell the story that they've only talked about in some cutscenes and in some books. Now we're going to get a chance to play E-Day. We're going to see, and that's the thing. I know you said, I just want the 2 characters. I don't want 30 characters. For me, I want to see characters that are not in Gears 1, 2, and 3. Where did all of those characters go? How did they find their end? Were they heroes? Were they villains? I want to see it all. Maybe I'm just a greedy gamer, but that's what I'm hoping for. But listen, again, we're not going to know. We got one game coming, folks. It's Gears of War E-Day. According to Tom Warren and a few of the other journalists out there, this is supposed to release next year. I don't know if I believe that, considering that the 20th anniversary is 2026. That's supposed to be the launch of the new console. It would be pretty dope if you had a new Gears of War with a new piece of hardware. But then again, I'm not the one running the show. I do want to catch up on Super Chats, and I do want to move to the next one. Now, obviously, we're talking Starfield tomorrow on the Xbox Factor podcast, but I would be remiss if I didn't get into it, because my God, there's a lot of new information. And obviously, Matty Plays, he had an interview, a sit-down interview, which was fantastic, with Todd Howard. Lots of information that came out of it, but there is a very specific piece that I want to read verbatim, and kind of, it, for at least for me, the way I'm looking at it, kind of tells the tale of, if you are a PlayStation gamer, don't expect Starfield anytime soon, based on the wordage coming from Todd Howard. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to read that verbatim in a second, but let me catch up on Super Chats here. And Starfield Guy. Hi, Starfield Guy. Welcome back, brother. He drops a very generous £5 Super Chat and says, why is no one talking about The Precinct? Coming to Xbox on August 15th. Boom, as an ex-cop, I think you might really like it. I didn't even know what that game was. I read your Super Chat earlier, and I'm like, The Precinct? Is it a horror game? Do you play the Popo? I got to check that out. Now you've piqued my interest.
Think of it as like the opposite of Grand Theft Auto. It's not a top down, but it's like a 3/4 view of you starting as a beat cop, and you can work your way up to being like a highway patrol or something like that, helicopter patrol or something. It's definitely deep as far as all the mechanics that they have in it. Definitely worth checking out. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm gonna now of being a retired New York City police officer, I'm gonna have to play it on principle, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for the suggestion, Starfield Guy. I'm gonna add it and look for it. Andre Doyle drops not one but $2 Super Chats, and the first one, he says Carmine is a beast in Gears of War as well, and he goes on to say in his second very generous $2 Super Chat, Xbox PC Cloud is the future of gaming. Great show, indeed it is. Being able to play anywhere is, I don't think people understand. Look, I'm an old guy, right? I remember Does anyone in the chat remember RF switches? Does anyone remember that? You probably don't. You used to have to take the screwdriver, screw the two prong things onto the back of your TV, and switch the box in order to play your. That's how old I am. A lot of people don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. Like, what? RF switch? Man, let's get this old man out of here. I could tell you, folks, that being able to pick up pretty much any device and play your Xbox games is like it's magic, man. It is just magic. And you can do that with a lot of things, but I love the way that Xbox is dialing that home and allowing you to pretty much play anywhere. Thanks so much for the super chat. We have Ski Walker, the Jedi. Hey, Ski Walker, welcome to the program, brother. He says this after dropping a very generous $5 super chat. Love the prequel. Hate the prequel trilogy. Much too much story on the table with 6 to wait 10 years for a finish. The hate for 5 was overblown. Listen, brother, I'm right there with you. I thoroughly enjoyed 5, like a lot, to the point where I played through it twice. I really did enjoy it. A lot of people didn't like it. Hey, listen, if it's not your bag, it's not your bag. What can I tell you? Frederick Williams drops a very generous $5 super chat. And Frederick goes on to say, I don't think they are trying to tell the story of 14 years. It will be D-Day and a little after, maybe a few days time. Interesting. That's an interesting theory. Maybe they aren't trying to give us the whole 14 years, though I, as a greedy gamer, would like that. Ski Walker drops an additional, very generous $5 super chat, and he says, "Loved and beat every Gears game. E-Day will probably take place over 24 hours. Prequel next year. Gears collection after that. Then do 6 afterwards." Now that's an interesting theory because Fuzzy, you made mention of something. You said people can fly. Now last year we learned that developer is solely working with Xbox on a legacy IP, right? They're working on a first party legacy IP. Is that legacy IP Gears of War collection? That is an interesting theory because look, they don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's there. There's the script. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. It starts and finishes as we remember. Just make it in Unreal Engine 5. Make it big, bombastic. So maybe we get the prequel and it's the sole prequel, like Gamsley is saying. We roll right into the trilogy, which we all know and love, in a new way of telling it in Unreal Engine 5. And then we get to Kate as Kate's finish, whether she becomes the bad guy or she doesn't, we'll learn. Interesting thought. We also have here Thanaros. He doesn't even say anything. He's been a channel member for 56 months. Dude, that is just ridiculous. I think I say it all the time. That might be as long as the channel's been around. So thank you for the ridiculous support. Fuzzy, I'm going right to you on this. So Matty Plays got a chance to sit down in probably the highlight of his career with Todd Howard. It was a pretty unbelievable interview. Now, I will get into some of the finite points, but specifically to start off this conversation, this is a quote from Todd Howard, and I really do think that what this should sum up, and there's been so much talk of Xbox putting their games on PlayStation. And listen, Phil Spencer, during the interview with Ryan McCaffrey at IGN Live, basically said, we will be putting our games on other platforms. It's happening, folks. I don't like it. I'm never bending the knee to it. I'm an old man. I don't like the idea, but it's out of my hands. It is what it is. Does it affect me as a gamer? It actually doesn't, because I'm playing them first. I'm playing them in Xbox Game Pass. It's my preferred place to play. I like my achievements. I like Xbox Live. I like my friends list. That is where I'm going to play all these games. But I can say there is going to be a significant weight based on my opinion, Fuzzy Belvedere, on what Todd Howard had to say in this particular block that I want to read. Because if you're waiting for Shattered Space to be, the game, and Shattered Space DLC to be the launching pad for PS5, I think people are going to be waiting much longer than that. And here's why. Todd Howard said in this interview, we now have 3 big franchises: Fallout, The Elder Scrolls, and Starfield. Starfield with 14 plus million players and with an average playtime of over 40 hours per player. We have our hands full taking care of these players and franchises. Now, look, if I'm reading between the lines and somehow I'm getting it wrong, I'd be the first one to come out and say I got it wrong. I don't think that's the case. And here's why, Fuzzy Belvedere. Starfield, if it was being considered, and I say the word considered for PlayStation 5, it's because it's a money decision. And it's going to happen at some point. I don't think this is happening anytime soon, based on the last statement, the last sentence in this paragraph. We have our hands full taking care of all of these players and franchises. Now, The Elder Scrolls is probably launching in 2026, potentially, as a launch title for the new Xbox. The next Fallout, well, that's a bit of a funny one, because the TV series exploded on the scene. every Fallout that was available to be purchased, they made $1 billion on the Fallout, old ass Fallout games. And now Todd Howard and team find themselves in a bit of a conundrum because they got to continue work on Starfield. They got to continue work on Shattered Space. He confirmed that we are getting another premium DLC next year, along with continued updates. We still have to get the 2.0, which is going to give us the land vehicles. They're currently or I would even dare say neck deep in Elder Scrolls. They are panicking and rushing to figure out how the hell are they going to get Fallout 5 rolling. Where would they have the time for a PlayStation 5 version? I don't think that's coming anytime soon. What do you think?
I tend to agree. Like, for the most part, when it comes to Starfield, and I'm a strong believer that Bethesda Online is going to be at some point making a MMO version of Starfield. So there's going to be that potentially, or it could be a licensed IP. I know there's been rumors of something Star Wars possibly related, but I really think Bethesda Online is going to be doing a whole online spin-off of Starfield to some extent. But if they're already stretched to the limits now, where they've considered even having other teams within the Xbox, family, possibly work on a future Fallout, or maybe a spin-off like a New Vegas 2 or some other location that maybe Obsidian can take hold of, type of deal. I don't think they're going to have time to focus on a port, because then you also have to make sure that the new DLCs are going to work on that port as well as the base game itself. And if you're already at your wit's end, I mean, could they expand the team to do so? Sure. But I think at the point where you have 14 million players, a combination of, PC players that purchase it through Steam, or PC players through PC Game Pass, and purchases through the Microsoft Store, and even purchases on Xbox or through Game Pass, which I'm pretty sure they sold a lot of that Shattered Space stuff as far as the DLC. So whether you bought the $100 edition or you bought the $30 upgrade, I think they had at least 2 million players that first day or whatever on Xbox. So a lot of people did that upgrade. So I don't think there's as much of a rush to, focus on porting it over. Will it eventually? Sure. But if they're going to come out with a PS5 Pro, then maybe they have to also have that into consideration when they do that. And they also have to figure out, well, we're going to also make sure that this stuff is compatible forwards. So whatever the next Xbox is, they're going to have to also make sure that they put the attention to making sure that this game is an easy transition for the next hardware, and what potential upgrades that new hardware will see. So they got their hands full. Could it happen? Sure. But I always was under the belief that, like, this is one of those things where the next gen Xbox comes out, they already have maybe a third or a next gen only DLC to add on as a spinoff, or maybe the Bethesda Online is the next gen only spinoff for current Starfield. That's when the PS5 players might get it. So if you want to wait until 2026 on a maybe or a whim or a wish, sure, go ahead and wait. Or, take one of your $5,000 PCs that some of them said they had and play it now. Like I would say is probably the best way to go overall. But yeah, will it come eventually? If it does, kudos to them for waiting. Me personally, I enjoyed I think it's like now I'm up to like 16 or 18 days in or something like that, with all the playthroughs that I've got going simultaneously. And I'm still hoping that they do the like space station stuff. Like, you can already do the base building and all that stuff. You can now do the customization on the inside of your starship. I want the space station thing next, and the land vehicles. Want to see how that is. But yeah, I would say if you're fine with waiting, wait another couple of years, maybe even more on the PS5 side. But I can understand why they would be willing to wait, considering the roadmap for PS5 right now isn't looking too exciting, other than maybe Astrobot, but that's supposed to be a pack-in with the PS5 Pro. But no, I would say let them wait. But I think it'll be by the time the next gen Xbox comes out, and at that point, Do you want to play the last gen version, or would you rather just buy the next Xbox and get the latest and greatest? That's just my 2 cents.
Well, it's great theory. Again, if you look at what's on their plate, Gamsley, they're doing a lot, right? The team is only so big. If you are continuing work on Starfield, and again, I have a story here that I pulled, of course, 'cause I like giving credit where credit is due. PureXbox.com is written by Fraser Gilbert. This was posted yesterday. And it goes into saying about how Todd Howard had confirmed year 2 for Starfield, including second big expansion, but keeping it with the whether or not it's going to release on PlayStation 5 anytime soon, based on the statement, the clear as day statement from Todd Howard about we are focusing on working what we have. I don't know if there could be another team, because Fuzzy brings up a great point. If there is going to be a PS5 Pro, that is another version that they're going to have to develop for. So you got PS5, you got PS5 Pro. Do they have the manpower, more specifically the time? And I don't think, based on Todd Howard's, wordage, that they do. And again, I go based simply on what he said, and it's clear we have our hands full taking care of all of these players and franchises. Does that scream no PS5 version, or am I overthinking it?
Well, the only reason why this would ever matter is if it takes away from content or new content coming to the platforms where all these games are being developed, right? So
Right.
if it means truly skipping out on features to make players happy where they are at the moment, and or new content, and or I don't know, whatever else they have in the pipeline, like he said, then yeah, it matters a lot, and probably we won't see it on other platforms anytime soon. I'm in agreement. I don't think we see this anytime soon. I think, like Fuzzy says, when a new generation comes out, if they skip a generation, right, they go in 2026, they start a new one. Maybe they look at, like, time has passed and all their games come out and their final DLC comes out for Starfield or whatever the thought process is, then I could see it coming to another platform or two. But if you're an Xbox fan, you get to play it right now, and that's all that matters. Enjoy the game. It's phenomenal. Shattered Space looks incredible. So, yeah, I think you're going to wait a long time. I think this is one of the ones that Phil was talking about, the purchase of Bethesda was bringing new experience, like some experiences to Xbox fans that will stay exclusive for as long as possible. And I think this is one of them, because it's a new IP created for the platforms that they're on right now, for a reason. And legacy titles like Elder Scrolls and stuff like that might be different. We saw it with Doom. So if Doom is going somewhere, I don't see why, Elder Scrolls something won't be coming at some point, day and date. But yeah, it's a new IP, and I think Xbox wants to keep it on their platform and identified with their platform as long as possible. But if push comes to shove and Phil says put it somewhere else, they're going to put it somewhere else. They're going to free up space. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, look, the truth of the matter is Starfield going to be on PS5 at some point? It is. That's just the fact. The business, unfortunately, is changing. The gaming business is changing in a big way. A lot of us old dudes don't like it, but such is life. You have to move with the times. They want to make money, and Starfield is an IP that would sell. I don't see that coming anytime soon, simply because, like you said, Gamsley, they want Starfield to be known for an Xbox IP. That's what it's currently known for. Yes, of course, you can play it on PC, and like Fuzzy was saying, that's his preferred place because of all of the advantages that have being a PC guy or gal. You are the PC master race. You can run it at 130 frames per second. You got all the bells and whistles, and that's awesome. For me, I'm a console guy, so I'm going to play. I got the 60 frames. I'm good. I know that there's a mod for the 120 frames on the potato. All right, obviously you can play the potato. Right, the S is holding back everything. and yet it's running at 120 frames per second thanks to this new mod that was available. Crazy, just absolutely crazy. But look, I want to continue the conversation, gentlemen, on Starfield, because again, there were some, I mean, this was a great interview, and shout out to Matty Plays for scoring it. Again, he's a fan of Bethesda. I'm sure he's a huge fan of Todd Howard. The big cheese smile on his face kind of gives it away. Kind of like what I looked like when I was at not E3, but the Xbox showcase. I would have this big old cheese smile, like a child on Christmas morning. So I'm sure that's how Maddie felt. Because listen, Todd Howard. I mean, you can interview Todd Howard. You're doing something right in your life. But there are a couple of things here, Gamsley, that I want to keep with you. Now, I again, thanks to PureXbox.com, they have the quotes ready for me to read verbatim. So I'm going to read them. And Todd Howard mentioned the year 2 of Starfield, which means, of course, besides Shattered Space, that they're looking towards, they're looking well into the future. That has me very excited. Now, it goes on to say, and this is a quote from Todd Howard, 2 of them actually, there'll probably be more of a gap after this. There'll be some bigger gaps next year as we look at those big beats for kind of year 2 that we're planning. Now, obviously, this is following up. Matty Plays asked about the plans for expansions after Shattered Space, questioning whether it's going to be an annual strategy that could be in the works. I would confirm that at the very least, we're getting a second one. This is what he goes on to say. I would say that we want to have annual expansions, more or less. How long that continues, hopefully, will be for a very long time, but we're planning for one after Shattered Space, so there will be another one. Now, this is a premium expansion. Now, we did learn some information that Shattered Space is not going to have you globetrotting from planet to planet to planet. It is taking place on a singular planet, which means that they're going to have the opportunity, or they had the opportunity, to really dig into the detail, because you're going to land on this planet. The whole expansion is going to be based on it. Now, Far Harbor, if anyone is a fan of Fallout 4, that was one of the biggest expansions for Fallout that they've ever done. According to Todd Howard and this interview with Matty Plays, this is supposed to be as big, potentially bigger than Far Harbor. That is very exciting, but let's talk about it, Gamsley.
Oh man, when he said it's gonna be like more handcrafted, like these singular scores. This is what I want. This is I love that. Starfield has infinite potential there, and this is good news. I love everything that was said here. Year 2 of Starfield, I'm excited. He did say bigger gaps, right? So it's gonna take some time to make these things possible, because like we said on the top, there's a lot of projects going on within Bethesda. I'm really looking forward to this stuff. Every time Todd talks about this game, it gets me crazy for it. Like, he just, I don't know, something about Todd, anything just gets me super hyped on these things. And also, not only that, it just gets me thinking, my God, the mod community on top of that. I know there's like controversial stuff going around with the paying for whatever mods and so on and so on. But I just can't help but think of all the time I'm going to spend in this game. It's just going to get better and better and better and better. It's going to keep rolling and rolling and rolling. And when we don't have a DLC, we'll have mods. And it's just going to, man, this game's going to stay big, and it's just going to grow the more it ages. I'm really excited. The potential is limitless with this game, and I think he knows that. And Bethesda would be crazy not to continue it. But yeah, maybe one day, 6 years from now, PlayStation players will experience this. No, they probably already
maybe
are.
When there's a
loud,
Starfield 2.
Yeah, the people that are like yelling from the rooftops that this is coming they've probably already played it. It's just part of their narrative to get clicks and stuff like that. It's all nonsense.
You're probably not wrong. Again, as a gamer, like, look, this is just me. When a God of War comes out, yes, it's on PlayStation. And I think it's gonna probably stay on PlayStation forever, at least in my opinion. As a gamer, I find it hard not to be like, "Man, that game looks dope. I gotta buy that game." When the next Mario releases, how do you be like, "Yeah, I'm just an Xbox guy. I'm gonna fold my arms and not play."
Yeah.
I can't do that. I'm sorry. I whore around,
Mhm.
if you will. I got to play all
Yeah.
games everywhere. Sorry, but
Yeah.
listen,
Do you think I want to actually stay on this for a little bit longer.
sure.
What do you think? So we're gonna probably have land vehicles and stuff like that by the time this like second round of DLCs start to
Yeah,
happen.
it's the
Do
2.0
you
that they're talking about. Yeah.
right. Do you think this next wave of Starfield content, do you think it's gonna be like wider, or they're gonna stay with like little sections of the map that you land on, or will they just let you run across this planet on a land vehicle as you want? Do you think
You
they
know,
shift like
it's it's interesting because
from
Cullen
landing
Prime,
on different
yeah,
squares and
Cullen
stuff?
Prime actually brought up a good point. I'm trying to find what he said here. I think it was Cullen Prime. Oh yeah, here it is. Like I said, I wonder if something happens to our ship that we can't leave the planet because of it. Meaning, like, let's say, for instance, your ship is damaged, and now you're stuck. Now you're stuck for shattered space on this particular planet where, like you said earlier, it's going to be even more handcrafted. It's going to be even more like, up close and personal. I actually kind of dig that. I like the idea that we're going to be on this Far Harbor sized DLC in one region. And again, I would imagine it's going to be different places on the planet. Maybe this is where the land vehicles come into play. Obviously, you'll be able to take those land vehicles with you and go
Hmm.
back into your, whatever you're still, whatever save you're using. But maybe that's where these land vehicles allow for you to traverse these long distances because you don't have a ship. Your ship is damaged, it's broken, it's crashed, you're marooned, so to speak. It's interesting. It's a great thought and theory there, Gamsley.
I just like the thought of them having this like outer world, like sectioned maps, like outer worlds, smaller contained things,
Mhm.
that you just run around with your vehicle and explore all that region with your land vehicles and stuff. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, and man, I'm just so excited. I'm so excited because I just ran into stuff that I didn't know existed for a very long time in Starfield because this is my
I love
third
it.
playthrough, and I don't know what to say, guys. Like when he said, "The more you give to Starfield, the more you get back," he meant
Indeed.
it. He meant it. If you wanted to do border, like just skim the surface and do your thing, you'll get an experience. But if you want to really push it, you'll find some crazy, crazy stuff that are in a lot of people's theories. By the way, you know,
Mhm.
um, uh, they exist in the world already. They know what they're doing. But yeah, crazy stuff.
No, good stuff actually. And it's funny because I have heard so many like posts. Okay, so I know people like Fuzzy's played through it multiple times. I played through it once. I'm now on my second playthrough. I added mods. I don't even know how to put on I was trying to figure out. I bought the mod for Boba Fett armor. I'm like, how do I even put this on? Like, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. I have to figure it out. I just started it again, but so I've known some people, and again, I don't want to give out the spoilers because they are they are wild. Some of the things that some of the after. Okay, I'm playing through now. A friend of mine, he played through it 5 times.
Mhm.
On his fifth playthrough, he's like, "Boom, I'm gonna tell you something. I hope I don't spoil it for you." I'm like, "No, I don't care. I already beat it. What happened?" And when he told me, I was like, "Are you
You haven't beat
kidding me?
Boom.
Like, are you serious?" Now,
Yeah.
again, I don't want to ruin it for anyone because I'm not going to. There are two of them, two stories that I can tell that will completely change your mind on how this game is. It's unbelievable. Like, it is unfreaking believable. I don't even know how they found this, but like you said, Todd Howard did say, the more you give, the more you receive, so to speak. Such is
Mhm.
life. Give
Yeah.
more to Starfield, folks. Trust me when I tell you, it's going to give back. But Fuzzy, let's get into this because a lot of people really enjoyed Far Harbor for
Mhm.
obviously Fallout 4. It was one of their biggest expansions pretty much ever. This is being mirrored as being as big, potentially bigger. That's a really big deal. Again, confirmation in this interview, it is taking place on one planet. Like Gamsley said, it is going to be more handcrafted. It is going to be more detailed. It is going to be more up close and personal. I love Cullen Prime's theory about it. Maybe your ship is just damaged. Maybe you crash into this planet and now you're like, oh shit, what do we do? This is why you're stuck here. Let's talk about it, man.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good thoughts into how they could do something along those lines. Like I always thought at some point the warp drive would probably be a thing that you may have to repair or replace at some point, and have to not necessarily go on a hunt for materials, but something along those lines. And while you're there, you're kind of trapped in this alternate universe type of reality type of deal. But yeah, I just want to quickly touch on the mods, the pay mods versus free mods that are still out there. I know a lot of people are now like review bombing it on Steam because of paid mods, which is weird to me because the PC crowd are the ones that could go to the Nexus page and just get all the mods for free. Like, I get it. Paid mods, boo-hoo, microtransactions, whatever. If you bought the deluxe edition or whatever, you got 1,000, mod points or whatever, which is more than enough if you want to just do like one or two updates and things. But go to nexus.com and you'll find most of the same types of stuff, even updates to the new creation engine to be more compatible with the updates. They're there for free. Like, all you got to do is install it. I just recommend having some sort of virus software to double check. Yes, they do some virus checks before it's uploaded to Nexus, but always be on the safe side yourself, kind of thing. But aside from that nonsense, just how they're going to have more DLCs added later, but just focusing on Shattered Space in general. Hopefully they have like the land vehicles ready in time. And I think that was their goal, is to have it, the land vehicles ready in time for Shattered Space. And we'll probably get maybe another update just prior to that. And I think Shattered Space might be September-ish, October-ish time frame. But yeah, all of these things, like when we see this game in a year or two, it's going to be I wouldn't say completely different, but a good bit different than the way it launched. And there was nothing wrong with it, in my opinion, the way it launched. But as they continue to add things, continue to get feedback from the fan base, I think this is going to be another one of those classics. I mean, it's already got 14 million people playing it. So yeah, they definitely have so much potential with this. And there's already mods if you want land vehicles. There's already mods out there for mech suits and things like that. More so on the PC side of things. I'm pretty sure we'll see those on console side of things as well, if they're not already there. I think there might be a mech suit one on their paid store. But yeah, there's just so much to this game. And like I said, me doing those 5 playthroughs, there was a good reason why I did it, because just as you have all these different factions, some factions work great with others, some not so much. And I wanted to take a couple of different approaches on some. Like Crimson Fleet, there's like 3 or 4 ways you can join them. And there's like, people are familiar with the 2 ways that you can join them, but there's other ways to join them if you got to do things a little bit differently or kind of underhandedly, and then they'll reach out to you, kind of deal. But having them as the faction that you're privy to in the early game, it might help things, because a lot of times you run into the Crimson Fleet, but if you're part of the Crimson Fleet, you don't have to worry about fighting them. Hell, they'll help you fight whatever's on that planet, type of thing. So yeah, there's so much to this game.
I just kill everything. Everything is
That's what my brother did. I think my brother did it in his dirty full play. He was just a murderer. He just was, you know that party ship? He killed everybody on that ship.
Oh no, I killed the grandmother. Or did I?
No.
You'll never know.
Oh
You'll
my God!
never
You killed
know.
Grandma. After she gave you snacks, you
Aw.
bastard.
You'll never know. Did
Now,
I?
I do have a playthrough that murdered everything that moved or looked at me funny. And I think I broke Mars. Like Mars, I was always getting attacked when I landed on Mars, no matter what I did, because I guess there's the bounty hunters right at that one entrance. So every time it was like a firefight. I'm like, oh man, I can't even do this mission because of this. But yeah, the killing everything one works as well. You just got to be careful on Mars. That's all I'll say as far as that. Just because it might break some of the other mission things that you try and do. But yeah, there's just so much to it. And then there's ways you could pit other factions against each other as well, which makes for another interesting story, which I don't think too many people have gotten. Was it the UC versus the Rangers or whatever? Which that one was a bit of a difficult one to kind of convolute, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, this game, whatever they do, especially if they have that large of a DLC added to it, that's just going to add to, like they're saying, an average of 40 hours people have put into this. That's going to wind up doubling that time if they wind up going that much into detail. And I think the House of Arun, which for what I understand, this kind of links some of that in that. There's so much to that. To that storyline that we don't get really to touch on in the base game itself. So if they're focusing on that, I can imagine now that's another playthrough. I got to figure out if I can go straight through that. Like if I do another start playthrough, I just go straight to House of Arun and see what that entails. But I have a feeling it's going to be a bit tougher going through that one than a lot of the other ones. But man, I hope they have more handcrafted stuff on like this one planet kind of thing. And it sounds like that's what they're going to be doing. And, you know, with that being said, of course, modders are going to see that same thing. And we may very well get our Fallout planet or our, you know, Tamaral planet or something along those lines. So this game's got so much potential. And if they ever do an online version of this, God help productivity in the business world, because I think that will be a catastrophic loss at that point, because everybody will be just living their best life in space, and people will stop wondering about what was that? What's the game that's been in development for 12 years? Star Citizen.
Yes, Star Citizen. Yes.
So yeah, if they do an online version of this, yeah, bye Star Citizen. So yeah. I'm looking forward to that DLC.
No doubt. Listen, I agree. Listen, now we do have one other thing that I want that came out of this interview that's a bit. Again, nothing was guaranteed, but we have one more topic to get to. But before I get to that, gentlemen, I do want to catch up on super chats. We have Sir X-Men drops a very generous $2 super chat, and he goes on to say, "I want to hear how Marcus got locked in prison." Yeah, so do I. I want to see how we get there. Now that's a whole story with his pops. Obviously, he abandoned his post and he went to go help his dad, and they consider him to be a traitor because he left his post. And well, that's how he gets locked up. Shout out to Blood Moon Gaming, not only for the very generous $10 super chat, it's the very kind words that I cannot stop reading. He says, "Boom, just wanted to say that I've been listening to you for a while. You're a truly humble guy. I learn a lot from about video games and life, and I'm proud of the work that you've done. Keep it up. Thank you, brother." That is incredibly kind of you to say, and this is why we continue to do it, because obviously, being forward-facing and transparent is exactly what we built the channel on, using honesty and integrity as the forefront of how we do these shows. I'm glad people are appreciating it, and thank you very much again for the generosity, but more importantly, the very kind words. Sir X-Man drops an additional very generous $2 super chat and says, "I'm waiting for multiplayer universe with friends." Yeah, that would be pretty dope. And I think that's the online that they're probably currently working on, because if they have Fallout 76, which is online with your buddies, if they have obviously ESO, it only makes sense that they're gonna make at some point a way to play with your friends. And I'm not talking about mods. I'm talking about straight up, we're making an MMO based on Starfield. It makes sense. And of course, lastly, not to be outdone, I've been whacking off for days. Drops a very generous £1 super chat, and he just wanted me to say it, so I did it, and I'm ashamed. But thank you so much for the generosity and the laugh every time. So look, This is a story, once again, by Windows Central, based on the Matty Plays interview with Todd Howard. And this was posted 6 hours ago, and it was written by Alexander Cope. And folks, I'm here to tell you, if you were hoping for a Fallout or Elder Scrolls remaster in the form of Oblivion, apparently that's not happening. Now, we had word based on court documents, Gamsley, that a Fallout remake, a Fallout 3 remake, was being crafted. Right along with that remake, it was expected that, and it was thought to be one of the games that was going to be announced at this monster Xbox show, that there was going to be a remake of Oblivion, which was an Xbox 360 launch title, which of course was the jumping point off for DLC through paid monies in the form of horse armor. Well, based on what Todd Howard has to say, we don't think that's happening, at least anytime soon. And it makes sense. They have to focus their Fallout 5's got to be made. They got to continue work on Elder Scrolls 6. They got to continue working on Starfield. They've already announced that there's going to be a year 2 DLC. So there's only so much time in a human day. Well, this is what it says. Bethesda lead Todd Howard suggests that the rumored Fallout and Elder Scrolls remasters aren't happening right now. And Todd Howard debunks rumors of Bethesda's remastering classic Fallout and Elder Scrolls titles. And this is what it says on the What You Need to Know section. YouTuber Matty Plays recently interviewed Todd Howard, the director and the executive producer of Bethesda Softworks, the studio behind critically acclaimed franchises such as The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and Starfield. During this interview, Todd Howard suggests that Bethesda Softworks is not working on remastering classic Fallout or Elder Scrolls games, as it is currently prioritizing development DLC content for Starfield and working on the Elder Scrolls 6. And it goes and finally says the Fallout franchise is currently enjoying a resurgence thanks to the success of the Fallout TV shows, with tens of thousands of people playing the likes of Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and more. Again, I mean, some people are going to be disappointed. I personally would love to spend another 100+ hours in Oblivion, especially done in a remake where it takes advantage of the Xbox Series X. Are you disappointed, or are you this is just par for the course when you just heard him say, "Hey, listen, we only, we're trying to cater to these 3 franchises, and that's all we're doing right now." Does it make sense?
Yeah, I'm sad, but I also understand. Okay, I I go back and play Oblivion all the time, and I'm sad for, let's say, console gamers that are a little bit more casual that don't just want to like plug in and play. I get you guys. I already play these games in
Mhm.
very stable frame rates. I mod them to heck. Oblivion has a style and feel that I believe is timeless, and I love it. I never feel weird playing Oblivion. I jump in and it's always fun for me even without mods. So I'm kind of immune to the remake thing. Would I love to see it polished up, have Unreal 5 engine like feel to it and look incredible and all that stuff? Absolutely, man. But do I want new experiences and new things and new things and new things and more new things? Yes. Do I want Elder Scrolls 6 instead? Absolutely. But don't look at this and think that, oh, it's never possible. It's definitely possible. It's definitely going to happen from another team, maybe. We know that Xbox is using their teams very wisely. They're using teams for support. They're using teams to make their own games. They're bouncing teams around. They know what they have, and they're in a position to do that more and more. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Fallout 1, 2, 3 remaster remake from people like In Exile. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Oblivion get recreated by someone else, just not by Bethesda. Maybe they're just not the people that are going to do it. But I wouldn't give up yet. I think it's just a matter of time because people love those games and they're so timeless, they're awesome. They're going to be remade in some capacity at some level at some point. So keep hope and keep playing games.
Great points. Fuzzy, let's close out this particular topic. What are your thoughts on the clarification that there is not, at least they don't have the time for? Because it's a great point. They could have someone else do it. There are plenty of studios that they could, again, they're not reinventing the wheel with either of these games. Fallout 3 is Fallout 3. It's available right now. It's got boosts. It's got everything added to it. But I think a remake or a remaster would be great. All the DLC included. The same thing with Oblivion. I would prefer they worked on Oblivion first because Fallout 3, even though it's older, it's really not that old. Now, of course, Oblivion, well, that was an Xbox 360 title that I don't think it was a launch title. I think it launched in the launch window, if I recall correctly. That game is timeless. I do agree with Gamsley, but I think potentially worthy of being first in line for a remake, remaster. What are your thoughts on the confirmation that they are currently, meaning Bethesda, is not working on either of these games?
I would have to take him at his word on that, but I do believe other opportunities will arise possibly within the next year or two. Like I would have to believe there's been conversations just because of the massive success that they've had with the TV series that, you know, maybe when In Exile is finished with Clockwork Revolution, instead of working on a new Wasteland, maybe they do a remaster of Fallout 1 and 2. And I saw some people in the chat saying, you know, even though it's available, they don't have a PC to run it. Having it ported over to console, at least, even if it's just a port, might be worth Bethesda's while as far as doing so. But if a remaster might be more in line as far as like some of the controls and to make sure it plays well on console as well, maybe they look at, you know, In Exile after Clockwork Revolution debuts and, you know, the instead of their next project being Wasteland, have them go on to something like that. And I think we're even, I wouldn't say everybody's in agreement, but we would also love to see possibly Obsidian get a crack at maybe another offshoot series, very similar to like Fallout New Vegas, whether it's a New Vegas 2 or it's some other location. I think while the iron's hot, they should strike, kind of thing. I mean, I still want Outer Worlds 2 before this, but Obsidian is that team that it's almost like with Insomniac, where they have, well, actually, I think they're at this point a little bit better than the Insomniac because they have the wherewithal to be able to release a game every year, whether they have a small team working on something like Pentiment or like their primary team working on Avowed, and then a secondary, you know, equally as good team working on Outer Worlds 2, and then another small team, a different smaller team working on Grounded. They've shown that they have the structure to be able to do what needs to be done, kind of thing. So if Todd is open to that and they've cleared their plate, like let's say when Outer Worlds 2 is, you know, let's say more than 60% or 70% done, and they can start scaling back or possibly moving people to another project, maybe that next project is another Fallout. I mean, they have the trifecta. They have Bethesda whole, plus they have In Exile and they have Obsidian. All these teams have touched Fallout at one time or another, or have made games similar to Fallout at one time or another. So it just makes sense to me that would be, once their primary projects are done, maybe they sit at a round table and it's like, hey, Fallout 5 is immediately after Elder Scrolls 6, but in the meantime, let's do this remaster of 1 and 2. In Exile takes the ring on that. And then let Obsidian try something different, like New Vegas 2, or a new Vault, instead of like having it the way it is in Fallout 76, where the focus is on I guess Vault 63. Maybe they basically pick another number at a different location and go from there. But they have the talent within Xbox. It's just I guess it really comes down to how Todd feels, because like before, he was real, protective of the IPs, but I think now he sees that it's probably in the best interest of those IPs to possibly loosen some of those reins. Like he'll still have, creative say, but if there's other teams that he feels comfortable with working on those, I think that's the way to go. But at this minute, I don't think there's the time or the team's readily available just yet, because they have some big projects they got to clear their plate with too. But let's see what he says in 2 years.
Listen, all I know is that we have Elder Scrolls in development. How far in development, we don't know. He didn't really specify. I know that's active development. There's been some rumors for years that it could launch with the next Xbox, but the next Xbox is rumored to be 2026. I don't know if that's possible. But listen, we're eating good as Xbox gamers, especially if you're a Bethesda fan, because obviously their continued work in Fallout 76, making that game better for a lot of people. A lot of people, obviously, after the TV series jumped into it. Still not for me, which is fine, because not every game is for every gamer. But needless to say, it's there if you want it. You can go back and you can play Fallout 4, which is what I'm doing right now, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's got all the bells and whistles that you could possibly want. You can go back and play Fallout 3 if you want, and
Everything.
it looks
You could
pretty
play
damn
everything.
good. Yeah, you pretty much play everything. But
And
listen,
can I
yeah,
can I just finish off by saying one small thing? So
sure.
Xbox right now, I think we've said it multiple times. They have the three best companies. Yeah, the three-ish best companies in the world that used to be under one umbrella making the same games: Obsidian, In Exile, and Bethesda. Like these
Yep.
guys have deep roots, connective tissue together with a lot of the same people in the studios that made all of these legendary titles. They just need to be in the right spot at the right time to want to move along and start remastering or whatever past IPs, but they do have the DNA to do it. They're all incredible people that make these games. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's just maybe far out in the future. That's all. But they will deep dive into their history again at some point. But just maybe not now, and that's okay.
It absolutely is. And that's, I guess we have plenty to play. There's no doubt about it. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here today on the Xbox Lunch Break Special. Let's get everyone out of here. And we'll start first with Gamsley. Brother, sell the brand. You obviously do a podcast with Deadly Headley and Asa each and every week. And obviously, it's fun talk. You guys laugh, you joke, you have fun. That's what gaming is supposed to be all about. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people check out that show each and every week? And more importantly, follow you on social media?
Of course. Well, before I do that, I see Paris is still in chat. Paris, you suck. But anyways, no, I love you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't come in here.
Get choked out, brother. You better not go to next year's
I'm
E3.
ready, baby.
That's what I'm saying.
No, shout out to Paris. You're amazing. So you can find me every Thursday for the Xbox Series podcast on the Gaming Arcadia YouTube channel, where I talk everything Xbox, and we just talk games, what we like about games, what games we're playing, and some news topics. We don't go deep down into hate or anything like that. We don't even touch it. We have fun and we goof around. And you could also find me here every Monday for lunch with Boom over here on Double Barrel Gaming every lunch on Monday. Also, you can catch all my bad takes and other scheduling stuff if you follow me on X at GamsleyTKD, all one word. This was a fun time, guys, and chat, you're the best. Thanks for engaging. Keep talking that trash. Keep throwing tomatoes at me. I love it, and I'm here for it.
Well, brother, thank you so much for being a part of the show on Monday. We definitely appreciate the work that you're doing here, as well as the work that you're doing in the community. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell your brand, brother. Where can people find you on social media? But more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel, which, by all accounts, is the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre. And again, someone put it in the chat. Apparently, there's Knight Rider, there is the DeLorean and something else happening tomorrow in Forza Horizon 5. Holy shit. I'm going to have to play that, do some recording so you could watch me playing that and crashing and driving like a lunatic. What's up, brother? Sell the brand. Where can people find you on social media? But more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Oh, as always, thank you for having me on. Always love being on here with you, Boom and Gamsley. Always love you guys' takes. Even if we don't agree, it's just like Gamsley said, it's always fun talking games and just, enjoying this hobby and everything. And yes, for Forza Horizon 5, they are still supporting this game and will continue to support this game. So I definitely recommend you guys hop back in if you haven't in a while. There's some awesome cars that they have, every week that you can add to your collection and stuff. But for those that want to, hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming or see some clips as far as me playing some of the games, just follow me on the app, formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on a number of other podcasts, although no FSP tonight. Shout out to Mav. He's going to be watching his team, the Mavericks. So hopefully they do well in the playoffs tonight. But you can definitely find me this Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on this channel. Hope everybody in the chat. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks again.
Well, thank you, brother. Super appreciate you being a part of this show each and every Monday. And, of course, on Friday mornings with Breakfast at Boom. A big thank you to all of the super chats that continue to come in to power the channel behind the scenes, especially when it comes to like the big giveaways. On Breakfast with Boom, folks, tune in. I'm going to be giving away 5 of those very limited and special edition Gears of War coins that were provided by Ben Kenobi, of course, who is the designer of them. And, the only place you're going to win is this Friday, Breakfast at Boom. 2 things, 2 caveats. 1, you got to follow me on social media, meaning X or Twitter. And more importantly, you got to be subscribed to the channel because I will be checking both on the winners. And if you do win, we will be shipping those coins out to you free of charge. You don't pay nothing. You win, that's it. And we'll be doing that this Friday morning's Breakfast with Boom. Again, thank you for all the super chats that continue to come in to allow us to do these giveaways, because obviously shipping is expensive, and well, that's what a lot of the channel memberships and the super chats go to. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully, one day be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. Him to say, "Craig, treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're gonna have an awesome day." So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.